Hey everyone, Regan here from the Xero API team. I've got another episode for you today in our Xero Automation Unleashed series. Today we're going to take a look at Cursor. Cursor is a full integrated developer environment, or IDE. And don't let that scare you off. It does show a lot of the code, which in comparison to the other tools that we've looked at, like Lovable, Lutra, and Replit, you're going to see code. You're going to be able to edit code directly. You're going to be able to change files in a number of different ways, and we'll talk about all the different ways that we can change them. But there is an agent, and that's where Cursor's power really lies, is its coding agent that can help you with any task that you have. And if you're already a developer, this is probably a nicer way to start. Sometimes with things like Replit and Lovable, if we don't have our hands on the wheel and when we're in control, we feel a little bit like, oh, I don't know what this thing's doing and I'm not sure that I trust it. With Cursor, we feel a little bit more in control. It asks us if we want to make changes. You can go into what they call YOLO mode. I am too old to use the term YOLO. If you're not familiar, it's you only live once. And so it's like, I'm just going to dive in and do this. It can make changes without approvals. But today we'll look at having approvals beforehand. But look, definitely, like, it's capable. You don't need to have approvals for everything. Quite often it makes changes that are appropriate. Sometimes you want to check things through just so you understand it. And I think that's probably the big benefit. If you aren't a developer, or if you're learning to develop and you want to get better at coding and increase your skill level, Cursor is a much better way to do that than Replit or Lovable or Lutra. You can ask Cursor to explain any part of the code that you don't understand. And then you can learn, you can build your skills, and then you can get to a point where you're able to look at code and work out what it does, make changes to it without needing the AI helper or the AI agent, right? But that's entirely up to you. Maybe you don't want to know all of this stuff, right? So you're gonna have to make some decisions at some point if you're watching along the series. Which one of these tools do I want to use? Maybe you're already using one of the earlier tools and you're like, this is fine. But if you do feel like, I really want to know what's going on under the hood, I really want to understand what's happening here, Cursor is definitely a good place to start. And look, if you're already a developer, Cursor is a fantastic way to just increase your productivity. It's really powerful. There's a lot of stuff happening there that you can use as well as your skills and enhance them. It can take care of some tasks that, like, look, all of us developers, we Google things sometimes. Now you've got the agent that can just, you can poke stuff in there, and it's a lot easier, and it can go and make changes for you very, very quickly. Today we're going to build a simple e-commerce website, probably the simplest e-commerce website we could possibly make. We'll have one product for sale, and we will sell it, and that will put an invoice in our Xero account, and we're going to send that invoice from our Xero account. So very simple. Just want to show you what Cursor is capable of. Compared to Replit or Lovable, there's no hand-holding, right? Like, this is very much like you are developing software as a software developer would develop it. You're going to need to have a deployment strategy, which is a big change because Replit and Lovable and Lutra, they take care of that whole thing for you. We won't go over deploying software today. That's a big topic that is probably outside of the scope of this video, I would say. But those are the differences, right? So if you're a developer, you probably already know how to deploy stuff, right? You're probably deploying something to AWS or Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure, or running it on an old computer under the desk and giving people access to it. But if you haven't done that stuff before, there's a big body of work to understand that, and there's a learning curve is the other thing that I'd say. So if you don't have the time to invest in those things, maybe the Replit Lovable route is for you. But if you're keen and you want to understand these things, you want to understand how traditional software is built, then this is the one for you. So without further ado, let's get into it and start writing some code. All right, here we are in Cursor. I'm not going to go through how to set up Cursor or download it. If you head over to cursor.com, they'll walk you through that process. It's pretty straightforward. I'll also just say I'm working on a Mac today. There may be some differences if you are working on a Windows PC to what I'm doing, just because of operating system shenanigans. But most of the things you'll be able to follow along with, especially if you're using Windows subsystem for Linux, which I highly recommend. And look, if you're using Linux, you're probably not watching this tutorial because you're already an expert in a lot of things. But if you are, Linux and Mac are fairly similar. You just got to swap out a few commands here and there. So, if you are keen on a really Windows-focused tutorial, let me know. I'm not exactly sure how I would do that, given that my machine that I'm doing all this on is a Mac. But we can see if we can make something work. When we open Cursor, we are greeted with this page. I have the Pro version of Cursor. You don't need the Pro version to follow along with this. The free tier of Cursor is very, very generous. And when I tried Cursor for the first time, I was like, wow, holy moly, I have to pay for this now. And I've paid for it ever since. And it's great. Up to you whether you want to pay for it or not. There are a few little benefits you get if you do pay for it. If you're on the free tier and there's some congestion at the large language model level, you don't get prioritized. If you're paying for it, then you do. There are other models that you can use that you get access to, and there's a whole bunch of other features. This isn't a Cursor promotion video, so I'm not going to go too deep into all the differences between Pro and the paid version. The key takeaway here is that the free version is enough for you to try it out and to get started and probably build this project out, is what I would say. All right, so we're going to get cracking. I'm going to click Open Folder. I'm going to say make me a new folder. We're going to call this Xero Ecommerce Demo. You can call it whatever you want. I'll open that folder. There's nothing in here because we haven't done anything yet. So that's great though. We have a very basic, very simple folder that we can put all of our files in and do all of our development in. And you'll notice that if you've used Visual Studio Code before, this looks pretty similar. That's because Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is another IDE. A lot of people use it for coding. If you haven't used it before, it's fantastic and it's free. But yeah, you've got over here would be your file structure. If you've got files, we don't have any files yet. In the middle here, we would have code to view. We don't have any code yet, so there's nothing to view. And over on the right-hand side here, there is an agent. And you see it's just chat. And you can add context and you can pop anything in the chat that you want. So I have pre-prepared an absolutely massive prompt. And it's so massive that I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to go through it all with you. But let's try it out. All right. So create a simple, elegant, modern, and responsive web-based e-commerce application that sells a single product, the Executive, a premium beltless trench coat. If you get that reference, let me know in the comments, and I'll give you a shout out next episode. So the app has to integrate with Xero automatically and create email invoices when purchases are completed. So I've given it some recommendations for a tech stack. I've said let's go with Python because we've done a lot of JavaScript already. Not that we've seen a whole heap of code, but I thought it would be cool to do something with Python instead. It's probably a little bit less, gets a little bit less love on our YouTube channel than some of the other languages, and I quite like Python. It's a great language, and especially if you're starting out, like Python is very legible, very easy to pick up. And there's a lot of learning resources out there about Python. And especially if you're doing AI stuff, like Python is having a moment right now as far as AI usage goes. So and there's a whole bunch of recommendations in the tech stack. I've given it some details of the product that it's selling. We've got some user interface requirements. So we're being quite specific in this prompt, right? Like this is all the things that we need. Here's the core functionality that we need. I've got some instructions about how to set up the Xero integration. I've even given it some code samples here of like what I'm expecting it to do. So I'm hoping that if we do this it's going to do a pretty good job of like sifting through all of these requirements and creating our site for us, with little involvement from me. But if you've followed this series so far, that's usually not the way. There might be a few little curves in the road that we need to get around, or speed bumps. But anyway, we'll see how we go. So on the agent menu, we can drop down here. We can switch between different modes. We can do agent, we can do ask, which is like asking questions about the code base, and we'll go into that once we've got some code. And then we can do a manual mode where we decide what gets added to the context, right? But we're not going to do that. We're just going to do agent mode today. We have access to lots of different models using Cursor. So think of a model like Google's Gemini. Claude has different models. So Anthropic makes Claude. Claude is a model, but Claude has lots of different versions. There's like Claude 3.7, Claude 4.0. There is, the ChatGPT models that you're probably familiar with, things like O3 and 4 and 4.0. And I can pick from all of these here, right? So right now I'm using Claude 4 Sonnet, which is great. It's a fantastic coding model. I could go down to Claude 3.5 if I wanted, which is still good, but not as good. ChatGPT's O3. We've got Gemini 2.5 Pro, and the little brain here just indicates that this is a thinking model, so it's able to reason, and it's able to discern why it's making certain decisions and work out if it's the best decision for it to make. And then we've got our ChatGPT ones. If I click into max mode, it'll give me some extra options, but I am a cost sensitive user. You'll see here it says it's for advanced users that are cost insensitive. That's not me. So I'm going to stick to what I'm doing, and I'm actually just going to stay in auto mode. Like, auto mode generally picks Claude 4. Claude 4 is great. I'm happy with it. So we will go with that. I'm going to send that, and it's going to go away, and it's going to do its thing. And as you can see, it's already doing some thinking, and it's already writing some code, right? So the key thing with Cursor is you need to accept changes when it makes changes. So we can wait until the end when all of these things have been written, and then we can review them, and we can accept or reject changes. But I'll just let this do its thing for the next wee while, and we'll come back when it is completed its first run of things. All right, about 10 minutes later, we have an array of files, many files, new folders. It's gone and it's done quite a lot of stuff. And it's saying, now let me create a simple test to verify the application works. So before we do that, we'll have to go through and review what it's done and just accept these changes. Like I said, we can go into YOLO mode so that we don't need to do that. But I haven't done YOLO mode today, and I don't normally do YOLO mode when I'm developing things. But that's entirely up to you. If you're just starting out, maybe that's what you want to do. If you are very hands-off and you want to like leave it to run and do things, then YOLO mode is your friend, absolutely. So let's just go through these one by one. Requirements. These are very sensible requirements. Flask is a library that is used for making websites and APIs. It means that we don't have to rewrite a whole bunch of code that does things that every website needs to do or every API needs to do. So yes, that's the one to do. Xero Python is the library that Xero supports for interacting with the Xero API using Python. So yes, we absolutely want that. Python.env is a library for interacting with environment files and environment variables. We absolutely want that. Requests is all about making requests over HTTP, so that's absolutely what we want. Gunnicorn is all about handling web requests and web traffic. It's like a web server kind of thing. And then work, Zerg is like a web server gateway. So these are all things that we need to run a website properly. I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to click accept. And so then that's code. It's saved, and Cursor knows that we've approved of it. So, it's also made us an example environment variable file, which we normally call like a .env file, which is great. We're going to need that. And we've got a Xero client ID, a Xero client secret. We know we need that for interacting with the Xero API. Flask secret key, yes, good practice. And look, even the app name and the product name and the product price is set in the environment variables. That's a nice touch. Well done, Cursor. Now it's going to create the main Flask application. So I'm just going to say this looks good to speed this video up a little bit and have you not here all day watching me do things. And then we can go and have a look at the Xero integration modules. Now, sometimes when we go through things like this, we will notice some mistakes. So it will be interesting to see if I notice anything off the bat. So already I can see that it's got some, we haven't imported some of the things that it needs. So that's why it's got these errors. We don't worry too much about that. We'll accept that file. If you remember from the Replit and the Lovable episode, we had some trouble with it working out whether to use a web app or using client credentials, which is the custom connections method. It has actually picked up the custom connections method here, which is excellent. Okay, so this is contacts. So it's getting the accounting API. It's finding a contact by email. Great. This all looks pretty good. I'm pretty comfortable with this. I'll say accept. And then account invoices. We'll accept this. The proof is in the pudding when we start testing it, of course. I'm just checking here to make sure that there isn't anything obvious about it that's not right. And then look, these HTML templates, I'm just going to accept them all. The HTML files are kind of like the structure, the scaffolding of the website, right? So all of this Python, these .py files, this is actually like instructions for how to operate that integration with Xero. These HTML files, this is like the scaffolding of the website, what information we want to present, and how we want it relating to other information on the page. And then the style.css file, CSS is cascading style sheets, and that gives instructions to your web browser. So Chrome, Firefox, Edge, gives instructions to the browser. Here's how I want you to present the scaffolding. And, I want this part to be this far apart from this other part. All of those things and colors and things like that are all defined in this style sheet. So I will accept that. And then we've got a main.js. So the front end, the client side of this website will run on the client's machine. That will be JavaScript because browsers are set up well to run JavaScript. So you might be like, oh, Regan, didn't you say this was a Python app? It has some JavaScript just to keep things easy, and I don't actually think you can run Python from a browser. Maybe you can. I'm sure. I mean, people can do all sorts of things. They can run Doom on a toaster now, right? So you can probably run Python in a browser. But the sensible thing to do is to use JavaScript. So yeah, there's a whole bunch. We'll have a look at the JavaScript one. And this is all sorts of things that we want to do, right? Like showing a little toast notification, validating email addresses, formatting currencies. Cart management, great. Validating forms, fantastic. These are all things that you would standardly do. Looks good. I'm going to accept it. Great. And then it's written us a README file as well. Quite a comprehensive README file by the looks of it. So a README file is really good if you are sharing this with other people and if you're working in a team, even if you're working with yourself, you should never assume that the you 3 weeks from now is going to remember all the things about the project that you made today. So having a README file of like, this is what this is, this is what this does, this is how to set this up, this is how you would deploy this, this is how you would test this. Absolutely, you should do that. And AI is amazing at writing those things for you. Because it's quite an effort to handcraft this, right? Like it's quite a bit of text. You'd have to go through everything. Quite often you're writing the same thing over and over again. So getting AI to do it is Perfect. That's what we should do. So yeah, it's got instructions: clone the repo, create the environment, install dependencies, set up your environment variables, and then it's even got instructions on how to set up the Custom Connections app. Fantastic. And then we've got some important notes. Custom Connections uses the client credentials grant type. Fantastic. And yeah, it's going to be available locally on port 5000. So localhost is, if you ever see localhost in a URL, which, instead of going to like www.google.com, you don't even need the www anymore. Localhost, if you ever see that, it's only looking at your machine. It's not going anywhere on the outside internet, only looking at stuff that's running on your computer. And this is going to be running on my computer, hopefully on your computer as well. This is a very, very comprehensive README. I like it. I'll accept it. It's made some changes? No. Okay, we've got another README in the images directory saying, hey, this is how you want to put images of this trench coat in there. The application expects the following images to be present. Okay, we're going to have to generate some images. I will do that off screen and pop them in there, because how you generate images is outside of the scope of this tutorial. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to an AI tool and I'm going to say, hey, can you make me an image of a beltless trench coat, please? All right, we've now got our 3 images that I've generated. We won't be able to see them here, but that's fine. Believe me, they're perfectly great. Oh, okay. Wow, okay, we can see them here. There we go, a beltless trench coat in navy, one in charcoal, and one in camel. There we go. Good job, AI. I'm very happy with you. So we've got all these things we've needed. We've accepted all the changes. We have got the images that it says we needed. It wants to create a simple test to verify the application works. Let's see how it goes. Command not found Python. You might run into this as well if you haven't got Python set up in your environment. I'm just going to copy and paste the error and see what it does with that. I'm actually surprised it didn't work out what was going on. Yep, so it says there was an error with the previous command. Let me try using Python 3 instead. So if you're on a Mac, Python, the command is not always mapped to Python 3, and I think new Macs now ship without Python and only with Python 3. I have all my Python stuff set up in virtual environments, which we'll go through in a minute. But yeah, it's really common that if you're trying to type Python and get stuff to happen, it won't happen, or it might use Python 2 instead, which is, you don't want that to happen. Python, most things run on Python 3 nowadays. So yeah, Python 3 is just a separate command to run these things. So let's run it, see what happens. The Flask module isn't installed yet. Let me install the dependencies first. So I don't want to install the dependencies now, and you shouldn't either. You should set up a virtual environment. You don't need to know how to set up the virtual environment because you have an agent here that can help you do it. So we can say, first, could we please set up a virtual environment using Venv. So Venv is it's a virtual environment tool in Python. There are lots of others. I like Venv. You might like other ones. That's fine. Just use whatever the AI agent recommends. I'm showing you how to do it this way because if you haven't done this before, you might need to go Googling for some different command line parameters that you need to run. If you ask the agent to do it, the agent can run these things for you, and it just makes it a lot easier, right? So, yep, it's going to set this up for us. Python 3-m venv, a virtual environment. is a great way of different projects quite often need different versions of Python, and quite often they have different requirements. If you install all these things globally for your entire computer instance, what you can start doing is running into challenges where one thing you want to run is using one version of a particular library, but it won't work with another version of it. If you do it in virtual environments, you don't run into any of that trouble. Everything is separated, runs in its separate little environment, and you can set environment variables in that environment. It's it's absolutely the way to go. So I'll just run this, and it has set up my virtual environment for me. Great. Now let's activate the virtual environment. So this is no different to us coming to a terminal and going new terminal and typing these things here. We could absolutely do that, but we're just going to let the agent do it because it's got some things that it wants to do afterwards that we'll let it do. Perfect. Now let's install the dependencies in the virtual environment. Yes, please, go for it. Cannot find a version that satisfies the requirement. Okay, it was asking for a Python version that doesn't exist. So it was able to figure that out, and it's changed it. If we come and have a look at our requirements file, you see, yep, it was asking for 3.2. Don't know where it got 3.2 from. Maybe it's a really old one, and then 9. So we'll just accept that change. We could have just accepted it here with a little tick here as well. Now let's try installing the dependencies again. Please do. It's going to go and it's going to install all of those. Great. All the dependencies are now installed. Let's test that the Flask app imports successfully. So these are all things that you would do if you were creating this yourself and you'd been developing for a while and you knew all of these things. The fact that AI just goes and does it is really good. Means that you don't need to know all these things. These are all things that Replit and Lovable are doing under the hood anyway. They're just abstracting that from you and hiding it from you, right? So great. Let's create a .n file from the example and test the application. So it's created us our own environment variables file. Let's test the Flask application by running it. I think you might be being a bit bold there. Maybe we need to set our I think we're going to jump in here and we're going to say, hold up, we'll change our client ID, our client secret, and we'll generate a Flask secret key. So you've probably done this dance with me before, but we'll do it again just in case you have not been following along with the other episodes. We'll keep these serialized. Let's create our client ID and our client secret. The reason we're using a custom connection here is because we're not creating this as an application for other people, right? This is absolutely just for us to use. It's only ever going to be connected to one single Xero account, and that Xero account is going to be our Xero account. And so if we use a custom connection for that, it just absolutely dramatically simplifies the setup, and that's why we do it that way. If we were going to use a web app, there's a whole bunch of extra steps we would have to go through, and it would be much more complicated, and that complication is just, it's unnecessary complication. So custom connections is a premium product from Xero. There is a little bit of a cost to it, but it's absolutely well worth that time and money. It saves you a lot of trouble initially and trouble down the road as well. So I'm going to come to developer.xero.com and I'm going to log in. Great, I'm logged in. I'm going to create a new app. If you haven't got any apps here, you'll probably see a create a new app button here, but you will always have a new app button up here in the top right hand corner. So we'll click that. We're going to call this one Ecommerce. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it potato fries if you want. Xero Custom Connection is the one that we want, and again, only available in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and the USA because we're charging you for it. But if you want to use it with a demo company, you can use it anywhere in the world and just test it out. So yeah, highly recommend connecting it to a demo company first, just to make sure that everything's working and that it's functioning the way that you expect it to work. I am going to put Xero.com as my company URL because that's who I work for. I have read and I agree to the developer platform terms and conditions. Great. Now we need some scopes. And there were some scopes that it specifically had created this with in mind. We'll go to the README. This is one of the things that we need a README for. Accounting.transactions and accounting contacts. Makes sense. Those are the things that I want. Transactions are invoices and contacts for the information on those invoices regarding customers. I will come back to Safari and I will say, great, for my current user, I want accounting.transactions and I want accounting.contacts. I will save and connect. The app is waiting for authorization. So what that has done is it sent me an email. I'll come over to my email. There you go. I have a Xero Custom Connection authorization request waiting for me. I will connect. It will take me to log into Xero, and it will say Ecommerce wants to access the demo company. Now, if you had other organizations, it would give you an option in a drop down of which one to pick. I've only got the demo company set up, so I'm going to allow access to that. Great, and that is connected now. So if I come back to developer.xero.com and I refresh this page, I get my client ID and I can generate a client secret. So I will copy that. I'll come back into Cursor and my .env file, and I will pop my client ID here. And then I'll come back and I'll grab my client secret. I'm not going to hide this because I will delete this key immediately after recording this video so that you can't use it. And then Flask secret key. All right, probably could have actually done that on screen. I just ended up doing it in a terminal. We've got a terminal here. There is a Python library that can generate cryptographic strings, but yeah, you could ask the agent to do it for you, and it would do it for you. So there's lots of different ways to do that. If you're just testing, you just need some string. If you're putting it into production, you should absolutely generate your own string using like secrets as a good library from Python to generate those types of things. Great. I think we're probably all ready to go now. So let's say let's test the Flask application by running it. So it's just all this is going to do is it'll be exactly the same as if I came here and I did. Well, I'm not in my virtual environment here, but exactly the same as typing it in my terminal. So great, the Flask application is now running in the background. Let me check if it's working by testing the server. So it's going to use curl. Curl is just a little tool, command line tool for sending requests. It's going to just poke one at our server. What actually happened there? Let's make this a bit bigger. Let me check if the server is actually running and what port it's on. Okay, so I think it encountered an error. Seems the Flask app might not be running. Let me start it again and check for any errors. Okay, go for it. Port 5000 is already in use by AirPlay on macOS. There we go. So it has said I'm gonna use a different port. Good idea. And then it's going to run that too. So yeah, some ports are reserved for other services, and yeah, if you're running something on a particular port, it won't be able to. Think of a port a little bit like a frequency on your radio, and you're tuning it to, I don't know, 91 FM. If somebody's already using 91 FM, you can't put something on 91 FM as well. You need to find a different frequency. So perfect. Let me test if the application is now running on port 5001. I'll just have to come out of full screen mode, and I will show you the website that it's made. There we go. The Executive Premium Beltless Trench Coat for the modern professional. Crafted with the finest materials and timeless design. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah, this has got all the details. Looks quite nice. Like I'm actually quite impressed with this for Cursor. Like Cursor is not known for its design nous, but it's just using Claude 4 under the hood. So Claude 4 is pretty good at making things. Do we reckon it's gonna work? All right, I'm gonna go with a large, just in case I've got a big coat on underneath the trench coat. I'm a camel kind of guy. Let's go for camel, and we'll add to the cart. Okay, it's added to the cart. Let's click on the cart. I can't click on the cart. Nothing happens when I click on the cart. Oh, it was looking so promising, Cursor. All right. So I've just said the app's running well, but when I click on cart after choosing the item, nothing happens. So let's see what it does. Yeah, okay. Because it's running it in this terminal, that's what we're having some trouble with. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run it in this terminal over here. I'm going to say source benv bin activate. So I've got my virtual environment activated here now, and I think I can just do Python app.py. Yes, I can. Python app.py. And what this is going to do is it's just going to run it in this little terminal window down here, so it can keep working, and it doesn't rely on this terminal window within the agent. So it'll free up the agent to do stuff. We will start a new chat window. You don't want to keep chatting with the agent in the same chat window all the time. Definitely the more chat you do in a single chat session, the dumber the agent gets, because we're just filling up that context window with more and more and more stuff, and it finds it difficult to have things. Cursor's agent is really good at going and looking at your code base and seeing all the different parts of the code, so don't worry too much about that. You won't lose access to anything that you've got access to, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, starting a new chat window just gives it that fresh context, and it's able to sort of think. It's kind of like stepping away from the desk, going for a walk and coming back for the agent. It can see that there's a checkout page. The issue is that the cart button in the navigation doesn't have any click functionality. It's just a button without a link. Okay, so it's an easy fix. We probably could have gone and had a look and probably fixed that ourselves, but we've got an agent to do these things for us. Why would we? It's actually going the extra mile too. Okay, it's going to update the JavaScript to make the cart count update properly, make the cart button show items. It's going to add some visual feedback. Great. And some more JavaScript to ensure that the cart count is updated globally across all pages. Now let me also update index.html. Great. Okay, so we're going to accept all these changes. Okay, are we going to accept them all without looking at them? Yeah, all right. Let's go. This is effectively YOLO mode, right? I'm just kind of blindly accepting. If this was a production app and it was people were working with it, I would be looking at all of these with a scrutinous eye and making sure that they're okay. Great. So I should be able to. I don't think I need to restart this, but I'm just going to just in case. Python app.py. Right, we'll go back to our window. Okay, cart button seems to be working a bit better now. I'll choose a large camel. Add to cart. It's added to the cart successfully, and I can click on cart. Great, awesome. My first name today is George. Xero service unavailable. Okay, so we got further. Now we've got something going on with our Xero service. So let's see what that is. Let's have a look at our error logs first. So in the terminal, we should see an error. If it comes through, error authenticating with Xero, bad request. Okay, so if you've been following along previously, you'll know that what we normally do is we say, I got an error, and we can pop that error into the chat. So you see, if I copy and paste, it doesn't actually copy and paste the text. It pops a reference to the terminal there. In the context thing, it says lines 62 to 72 in the terminal, and that's what it's looking at. So, okay, I can see you're encountering two issues. Python command not found. The system can't find the Python command. Okay, so I've said to it, hey, I'm running this in a virtual environment in a terminal window and it's working. Don't worry about the Python error. So it's got it. The Python command is working in a virtual environment. It's great. The Python command is available in the virtual environment. Is it activated? Let's focus on the main issue. Yes, please. The Xero authentication error with invalid client. This means your Xero credentials aren't properly configured. Yeah, I know that. Sorry, but maybe you don't. I'm getting a little bit uppity today. Maybe I need another coffee. Okay, but I've got my client ID and my client secret. It's my fault. I'm an idiot. There are memes about this. I have fallen victim to the meme. What's this white dot? Is a common beginner question with Cursor. This white dot means you have not saved this file, and I had not saved the file. There you go. Hey, even people that are experienced with this sort of thing make mistakes, right? So yes, I am a fool. I had not saved the file. This is going to work now, I'll bet you. Anyway, so that's why it was like, I don't know anything about an M file. What are you doing? If I run it now, yeah, so now it can see my M file, and it's like, great, you got them configured. The app might not have the right scopes. Anyway, let's try and run this again and see if it still has the same problem. And we'll just pop in some information here. Great, and let's place an order. Xero service unavailable again. Okay, so there is something else going on. No problem. Invalid OAuth 2 token. I'll just copy and paste this error in there and see what happens, eh? I can see you're getting an error with authentication with Xero. That's correct. I am getting an error with authentication with Xero. Let me examine the authentication code to understand what's causing the issue. Okay, so it's trying to make some changes to auth.py. Let us have a look. We'll see if this token saver function works. I'm not convinced. Okay, Xero service still unavailable. All right. Okay, I see the issue now. The OAuth2 token saver parameter is not a valid argument for the OAuth2 token constructor in the current version of the Python SDK. Let me fix this by using the correct approach for the SDK version you're using. I feel like this is just reversing the change that it did before. And we're back to the same old error. Invalid OAuth2 token saver, none function. Let's see what it does with that. We're going in circles. This is a common thing with Cursor. If you don't actually step in and do stuff, quite often it does go in circles. All right, so I'm just wandering through the code base. One thing I do notice is that it's got all these import errors, so we do want to fix that. What we did is when we activated our virtual environment, we didn't actually set it up in the interpreter to be the environment that the IDE is looking for these different imports. So I'm just going to click on this down here, which is our Python version, and then I can choose our virtual environment. So all of those import errors are going to go away. That should actually fix up the problems that we're having with it's saying, oh, I can't find the .env file. The .env file is in our environment, so it should be able to find all those things now. The error that it's having is an interesting one. It's very insistent that that it's doing it the right way and it's having a circular problem. What I quite often do if that is happening and the model that I'm working with is not able to solve the problem, in Cursor you can actually change the model that is investigating the problem, right? So I can come here under auto and I can turn off auto and I can say, hey, I don't want to use Claude 4 Sonnet because Claude 4 actually, for some reason, is not figuring this out. I'm going to switch over to Gemini and see if Gemini can solve it. All right, so it thought for 39 seconds. Hello, I see you're having trouble with your Xero integration. The error invalid OAuth token saver none function suggests an issue with how the Xero API client is being initialized. Yes. Seems that the OAuth2 token saver function needs to be passed directly to the API client constructor rather than being set on the configuration object. I'll correct that for you in Xero integration auth.py. So let's see what it is trying to change. Okay, I've applied the fix. It's now being passed correctly to the Xero API client initialization. Okay, let's see if that works. Place the order, enter an email address. I put @ twice. Our validation's working, great. Xero service unavailable. Okay, we've still got a problem. What's the problem this time? Invalid OAuth2 token getter. All right, well, hey, we're getting somewhere. At least we got a different error this time. So there you go, switching the model actually helped there. So thought for 28 seconds. And it's, look, we've got a similar issue as before. This time it's with the OAuth2 token getter. The Xero API client expects functions for both getting and saving the authentication token. Makes sense. For custom connections, we can handle this by storing the token in memory. I'll add a simple in-memory token store to auth.py. We've got a global variable to hold the token, creating a token getter and a token saver, passing both functions to the API client. Great. Okay, place an order, cross your fingers, cross your toes. Failed to create customer contact. Well, at least we got a different error message this time again. Okay, what has happened? What has happened? We successfully authenticated with Xero. Great, we got somewhere. Error finding contact by email. Missing one required positional argument, Xero tenant ID. The irony is this is probably my fault, because I haven't used the Python SDK very much, and I was going off of how it works with the Node SDK, which you don't have to pass a Xero tenant ID to. I actually think you do have to pass a Xero tenant ID to the Python SDK, now that I think about it. And this was causing some trouble with our previous examples with Replit and Lovable, because they use JavaScript. But the Python SDK, I think you do actually need to pass the tenant ID. So yeah, okay. It's like, yep, we're not providing the necessary Xero tenant ID. So this was a human fail, not an AI fail. I shouldn't have told it to not provide the Xero tenant ID. We do need to provide a Xero tenant ID for the Python SDK. So there you go. Humans make mistakes just as much as AI make mistakes. Cool. Okay. And that's all it's changed. It's just providing the Xero tenant ID because it needs it. Great. I suspect it's going to need to do the same thing for invoices, or this is not going to work. If we have a look at invoices.py, yep, it's the same. We're not providing the tenant ID. And I found where create.update contact is in app.py. I'll remove the Xero client argument from this call since it's no longer needed. Let's hope this one works. Place the order. Failed to create customer contact. All right, let's see what's going on this time. Okay. At least we authenticated successfully. We've now got an error creating a contact. Can't serialize value type dict to an explicit type of address. So see, it doesn't matter which tool we use. We're always encountering errors. The good thing is that it's able to figure this out. I haven't had to manually intervene just yet. We're still getting to the bottom of it. Those developers among us will be like, well, maybe if I had done this myself, I would have got there sooner. Yeah, I see the new error. It looks like we're passing a dictionary for the address when creating a contact, but the Xero API is expecting an address object. So a dictionary in Python is like a bunch of keys and values that can show things. But it's expecting like a particular format of data for the address. When we actually send it to it, it's going like, this is not how I want this data. I can't read it the way that you've presented it. So I need it in a different format. So that's what we've done. We've actually changed how we're showing it. So great, we're doing something different for phone numbers, and then yeah, we're using this actual address class here, which has some specific parameters to it. Whereas before, you see, we were just doing like, here's a key and here's a value, which was incorrect. We needed to do it in this particular class, and then we're doing it for a phone number here as well. So that's interesting. I would have probably expected the AI to pick that up initially, but that's okay. These things happen. Okay. This is Gemini is having a problem. Oh my goodness. Cursor's having a problem. Okay, stop. You're eating all my tokens. Gosh. This is maybe one that we should say we don't like this. You can do that. You can always be like, I like this or I don't like this. It's a nice little feature of Cursor. I'm just letting Cursor know, like, hey, this chewed up a bunch of my tokens. Can you maybe make it not do that in the future when it's just waiting for me to accept changes? That's okay. Hopefully it fixed the issue, eh? Let's put in some random information. Place the order. Come on, you can do it. It's thinking about it. Hey, order placed successfully. Finally. I wish there was some fireworks or something, but there's not. Okay, order confirmed. Thank you for your order. We've sent you an email with payment details. The email probably hasn't come through because you can't see the emails from the demo company. But great. We have sent it to there. I can click on the Pay Now button, and hopefully it's going to open an online invoice. It's an online invoice from Xero for George Steinbrenner. Okay, and we got some amounts here. We can download the invoice. Fantastic. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, this is my Xero demo company. Invoices. Great, and there's our invoice for George Steinbrenner. Great. It exists. It's there. One thing I might like to do is just tell it not to create it as a draft, create it as an authorized invoice, please, so that it can get paid. Because right now I cannot pay this because it's a draft, but that's a very simple change, right? Yeah, I won't take you through that. But there you go. It worked eventually. As you can see, there was a little bit more back and forth than with like Replit and Lovable. Well, it's probably similar amount in the end of the day. This doesn't stop here, right? Like this is the start. We can do all sorts of things here. We can be like, hey, I want to upload this to GitHub, and the agent is going to go through and do all the things that it needs to do to make that happen. I probably shouldn't have used Gemini for this. But yeah, git status, it's going to do that, and it's going to say, well, wait a minute, there's actually not a Git repository for this. Do you want to initialize one? Yeah, okay, go for it. It's initializing the repository. The repository has been initialized. Before we proceed, what would you like to name your repository on GitHub? In the meantime, I'll create a .gitignore file to make sure we don't commit unnecessary files, because there's a whole bunch of files here that we don't want uploaded to GitHub. We don't want our virtual environment files out there. We definitely don't want our .env file, and it's going to go through and do that with all the normal best practices. Okay, so I'll just say please call it Xero Ecommerce Demo. It's got a git ignore. Let's just check it and make sure that it's ignoring all the right stuff. Yeah, it's ignoring my .env and my virtual environment and my PyCache. That's about right. Now the git ignore file is created. I'll create all the files in the staging area. Please do. And so if you didn't have the agent helping you with this, you would need to know all of these commands that you need to write. Like, I don't start a new repository every day, right? So quite often with these commands, I'm like, oh, I know that it's like something similar to this. You know, might end up Googling one of them, or, you know, typing it and getting it wrong, whereas the agent just types it and it gets it right. Git commit, an initial commit. Yes, please, go for it. Great, now that all the files are committed, I'll create a new public repository on GitHub for you. I'll need to be logged into the GitHub CLI for this next step. If you're not, I'll prompt you to do so. So I am logged into it, but if you weren't, it would walk you through setting all that up. Great. And it's up on GitHub for me. So there you go, easy, right? It's on GitHub, easy, right? And none of our secrets are there. We've got our environment variable example with none of our secrets exposed, and that's what we want. So, you know, that's another advantage of doing it through AI. If you haven't done it before and you don't want to make mistakes like that could be not great, AI will stop you from doing that. So cool. That's all we've got for you today. It's pretty cool, right? Like, that was, you know, a little bit of back and forth getting it happen, but that's software. That's what software is, right? If we create things, we normally create bugs with it, and we need to squash those bugs and we need to solve those problems. We did that. We got to the end. We've created our simple e-commerce website. You could create a simple e-commerce website for your business too. And yeah, you would need to deploy this somewhere. That's another step, right? And Cursor's agent could help you with that as well, and it would walk you through doing it on something, a platform of your choice. And it would probably, you know, you could say to it like, hey, what's the simplest way for me to get this out there? And it would do that for you. But yeah, I hope you like what you've seen. I hope if you're a developer and you haven't used Cursor before, you were able to follow along and go like, oh wow, okay, this actually does some cool stuff. The GitHub thing is pretty cool, I reckon. The searching through your code base for bugs, you know, like that's getting something else to do that is very helpful. Even we have a technique that quite often people use called rubber ducking, where it's like I'm looking at the error, I explain it to a rubber duck that's on my desk. I don't actually have a rubber duck on my desk. I have Schumann that I talk to sometimes, but AI is a fantastic rubber duck for talking through problems with, because it will actually respond. Good old Schumann doesn't respond to me. But yeah, so very different to Replit and Lovable and Lutra that we've looked at, right? Like the code is everywhere. We look at the code quite often. We had to interact and we had to approve code changes that we made. That's a big difference from Replit and Lovable. So it gives you more control. If you are a developer and you're used to having that level of control, this might be a way for you to get a little bit more used to AI doing things on your behalf and vibe coding. I hope you like what you've seen. If there's something specific that you want me to follow up with, please do leave a comment below, and we will get back to you and hopefully add something else to the series on related to what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, love having you here. It's been really exciting showing you what this has got, and I will see you next time.